NFL on Fox, the Carolina Panthers and the Kansas City Chiefs. And kickoff is now. Ron Pitts, Mike Martz, Christina Pink down on the sideline. And there's a look at Carolina coach Ron Rivera.
You know, talking to Ron, he told his team coming up here, this is going to be difficult for everybody. Just give these guys their due respect, understand, and have compassion for what they're going through.
On the flip side, well, obviously, very difficult circumstances for Romeo Crennel. And we talked about this in the beginning of the show, Mike, getting not only his players ready mentally to come out and play, but how does he get himself ready mentally?
Well, he's at the top of the pile, obviously. There's nobody that can console or that he can turn to. They all look to him for answers.
The Carolina Panthers have lost the toss for the 13th time in a row, and they will kick it away. That is number 9, the former Redskin Graham Gano. And his second game as a Panther will get us going. That is Shane Drone, 6 yards deep. He's got a lane. Drone with a nice return out to the 26. Ball is loose, but he is down by contact. Barnage on the tackle.
Boy, good field position to start this game, but he hit that thing up inside very nicely. No hesitation whatsoever.
And a look at Brady Quinn. Got the starting nod as he replaced Matt Castle at halftime 2 weeks ago against the Cincinnati Bengals. Only 15 career starts. He's getting more and more comfortable, but there is a big question mark on this man. This is a kid, and we'll talk about this later on in the game, Mike, that you scouted heavily coming out of college.
Yeah, no question. There's a lot to be talked about Brady and his future.
They'll go with the run with their man who is starting to get the run game going, and that's Jamal Charles, the AFC's 4th leading rusher, and he'll have a good gain on first down. That's 5.
It's important to get Charles involved in this game immediately. Give him a feel, and you got to think he's going to carry the load again and manage this game at quarterback.
Haven't seen a lot of deep balls from Brady Quinn. Not sure if he's very comfortable with that situation yet, but he is comfortable doing that right there. There's a cutback, and that's a first down on the first possession. Jamal Charles. Nakamura with the tackle, but he picks up a solid 10.
Well, you take a look at the in-back players on offense have got to step up. It's a given this running game, one of the tops in the league, but Brady Quinn, Dwayne Bowe, and John Baldwin, that ball's got to come downfield. They've got to make some plays today and make things happen and score points.
McCluster, 22, checks in up top at the slot position. Play action. They'll throw it down the field. Wide open on the deep in route, and that's complete.
Well, that's what they need to do right there. Beautiful play call, a deep turn in. Protection's outstanding. This offensive line has gotten better all year long. Good pickup by the back, and he stuck it right on his number. Very decisive.
Dwayne Bowe.
Very aggressive play call here down the field like that, Ryan. Love it.
And that's one thing we question. We saw Quinn not pull the trigger a couple times in last week's game, but he comes out here and lets it go. Ball just inside the Panthers 40. Trying the right side there. That's Charles, maybe 2. Let's look at the in-back players on the other side of the ball for Carolina.
Well, outside, Greg Hart and Charles Johnson. The sack pack out there with the 8.5 sacks. And Luke Kuechly has been all over the field from sideline to sideline. They've moved him back inside. These guys have been dominant once the season got going.
Kuechly moves inside, replacing the injured John Beeson, who was lost at middle linebacker in week 4. This is a 2nd and 8. Bowe in motion. Fake give, pump fake, wide open, he's got a man. That's John Baldwin, and Baldwin with the stutter and go. They didn't throw that last week, Coach. They throw it now.
Well, the key here is a play fake, and this is what happened. You see the defense react to this play fake. They're going to hold just a little bit, a little pump fake, and then get it into the hole. This is what's been missing now for at least the last 7-8 weeks of the season.
You saw Norman trailing there. Nice job. He pulled the trigger on this one. We question why he didn't do it the exact same play last week against the Denver Broncos, speaking of Brady Quinn. But here's the area where Romeo Cornell says they've got to get better. In the red zone, and that's Hillis, and Hillis is in for the touchdown.
Very, very impressive opening drive.
Sparked by the 34-yard completion to Baldwin. 6 plays, 74 yards. And the first opening possession touchdown of the season for the Kansas City Chiefs. The holdup is, by rule, all scoring plays are reviewed. The review stands. Everything's clean. And we'll go with the extra point. But clearly, Coach, a statement early on here by Brady Quinn in this offense.
Well, I think it's important to note, last week I think they just asked him, see the kick here, I think they just asked him to manage the game.
Manage it, they do. Get on the board in the first possession. That's a step in the right direction. 7-zip, Kansas City. A look at the scoring drive by the Chiefs. They've come right out, and Coach, you said the word during the break. A different style of managing the game with Brady Quinn.
There's no question. They let him go there and open it up, and I think it's a relief for these players to just turn it loose and get away from all the stuff that's happened here off the field, the obvious, and excited to see how these guys will play.
Fake the onside. That was the first touchdown of the season for Peyton Hillis on that 2-yard run. Armani Edwards struggles with the handle, picks it up, looking to get outside. He's got some speed and squeezes it out to the 25-yard line. Cam Newton, Superman, he's back to his old self. See what he can do here coming back. Cam Newton, the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. A great performance Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, 306 yards in the air. And I think the most important stat, Coach, I know you'll agree with it, no turnovers.
Yeah, no question, Ryan.
Looks over the middle, and he's got a guy that's been playing very well of late. That's Brandon LaFell, close to a first down.
What's important here is the Achilles of this offense and the whole team probably is the inside 3. Han Gardner moved from right guard to center. Gary Williams is really untested. He's moved in as a starter, and you have a rookie in Solo Tulu over there at left guard, and they've struggled in the last game or so. They've got to get it together for this football team.
That is a first down. Carolina going up against Kansas City's 3-4 defense. 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers. They will bring pressure, but they've got to contain Newton while doing so. Jonathan Stewart out of the mix today, bothered by bad ankles. That's D'Angelo Williams, hit by Derek Johnson, a pickup of 6 as you look at Kansas City's impact players.
And rookie Dontari Poe has really showed up lately, and I think they're starting to get what they want out of him. Of course, Eric Berry has been so steady, and Justin Houston with the sacks. These 3 affect all 3 levels of their defense and are really leaders at those levels of the position.
Justin Houston, boy, young fella, 2 years in the league, but he can really come around that corner on the pass rush. 2nd down and 4. Williams looking cut back. And Williams will stretch it out to about the 45. Dontari Poe there, a pickup of 3.
Well, you know, the thing that's good to see here is these backs now, just in the early start here, they've really incorporated him in the offense. Instead of, they have to do this to keep the pressure off of Cam. And having D'Angelo Williams pound it, those are the types of runs, the stretch and cut plays that he's comfortable with. And I would suspect those are the runs that we'll see him do.
22 games without a 100-yard rusher. That is a franchise record for Carolina. And at one time, they had the duo of Stewart and Williams going full speed. And that's Big Tolbert. Mike Tolbert busts through for the first down. And a lot's been said about Tolbert. His name's been mentioned on that Pro Bowl ballot quite a bit, along with John Kuhn up in Green Bay.
Well, rightfully so. He does everything. You know, the special teams, he catches the ball well. They're using him as a runner, as you can see. He's Truck Tolbert comes rolling through there on key 3rd and 1 situations and runs through those arm tackles. He's really an integral and very important part of this football team.
Blocked for LT, LaDainian Tomlinson for so many years out there in San Diego. But he is getting his own with the Panthers. Play action, looking deep, plenty of time. And a great play on the corner. Javier Arenas. He replaced Stanford Rout, brought in from Oakland week 7. But he has done a nice job. That ball intended for Steve Smith.
Well, I think the ball was supposed to go on the other side, and the receiver fell down, and he had to get it back over here to Steve Smith, and that's why the ball was so late. He started, he wanted to go up top, and he lost it, and he got back just a little bit late on the throw.
Arenas, 3rd-year man out of Alabama, 2nd-round pick back in 2010. He does it in the punt return area. See him making a great play there. 2nd and 10. Pass again. Down the seam, wide open. And that's Greg Olsen. And Olsen is in for the touchdown. Coach, that's one of your former players there in Chicago. That's 47 big ones.
Well, and this is what Greg does so well. He's as fast as a lot of the wide receivers in the league. And getting vertical and getting him the ball, he adjusts so well to it. He can run away from most safeties in the league. The play action here is absolutely very effective on the coverage. He sucked the nickel back that was covering outside in the slot, basically, on Greg, which allowed this to happen.
2nd touchdown of the season for Olsen, his longest reception of the year. He got in the seam. I don't know that they got the right kind of jam at the line of scrimmage on him. The throw was on the line. Well, and we're tied up.
Yeah, I think he peaked. I think the defender actually peaked and didn't get anything on him. Down to cover.
Look at the scoring drive there. 6 plays, 75 yards. And, you know, they've talked about Cam Newton getting back to what he does best. And we haven't seen him run yet, but we've seen him stand in the pocket the last couple games and deliver just like that.
Well, he just looks so much more confident, you know, in the pocket. He gets through things quickly. He doesn't have that real panic to him that he's had sometimes in the past in the pocket.
An identical answer to Kansas City's 6-play drive for a touchdown. As we're tied up here, let's go back to it.
Well, you can see he's going to come down here and set right there and take the cheese, so to speak, on the run fake. Watch him hesitate, and just enough for, you know, the tight end, Greg Olsen, to get by him and of course, hurt them for a touchdown. And both teams do this well. And Kansas City, if they'll utilize that same action, and they did that in the first series. That was one of those throws in the first series. It's very effective.
So Brady Quinn will take over, ball at the 20. He'll go play action. Pressure. He's out of the pocket. Then the Brett Favre shovel. That's the Charles, and Charles may be picked up too. Thomas Davis is there with the hit.
Well, Brady Quinn, you know, working him out when he came out of college, the only question I had is he had a tendency to kind of wait to see guys come open. There's no question about his talent, and he's a guy, I think, Ron, that just needs to play. And you don't know enough about him yet in this league, and so far this is an excellent start for him.
A pickup of 4, 2nd and 6. Moyaki across the formation. They'll come downhill with it. Charles with a cut, and then some. Jamal Charles with ACL knee surgery last season, only played 2 games, went through a big-time rehab, but he vowed to come back and get back to in his own form, and he looked like it there, 16 yards.
Well, take a look at this outside run here. This is what they do so well. Either zone where they all man block it, or they pull, as you can see, the guard coming out here like that, or they'll pull offensive line, but they are a perimeter run team, and nobody does it better.
Chiefs at 1-10, losing last week here at home, 17-9 at Denver. Boy, and Bo didn't even bother to get airborne for that one. Last drive was their first opening drive touchdown of the season, and they were aggressive throwing the ball.
Well, they were, and I think they're trying to do this. As you can see, the check down that he got to, mixing up this play action, I think, is incredibly important to take the pressure off the offensive line. And like we saw Carolina do, spring a guy into these seams.
This is the 2nd and 10. Pure 2 tight end formation. Cutback play. There's the lane.
Oh, there it is again.
Gashes for Charles and the Chiefs offense. And the offensive line opening up holes. That's 16 yards again for Charles.
Boy, when you look at tape on this offensive line, they get on box and stay on it. They're so well coached and execute so well. But this is the antithesis of the other play. This time, the offensive line reached. Nobody pulled. They expanded. The seams open up the farther outside he gets, and then he puts his foot in the ground. It's a one-decision cut.
5 carries, 49 yards already for Charles, averaging 9.8 yards a crack. Looking for something deep. It's not there. Quinn out of the pocket. Slides down about 2 yards shy of the first. Good decision, Coach.
He's had 2 of these now where he got pressured in the back. He stepped up and flipped it to the check down. Here it was a 2 tight end set. He's not going to have that opportunity. Couldn't find the check down and quickly determined, hey, you got to get and go with that thing. And he's decisive. And this was the only question that I ever had about Brady Quinn is how quickly he'll make decisions and how good his decisions were. And is he willing to take the ball down the field consistently?
He picks up 5. Back to Charles. Charles missed in the backfield. Very close to the first down.
Well, this is that outside zone run again, and you got to hang in there with it. You might get 1 or 2 and then get 15 or 20 and then back to 6, and they execute this thing so well. It's so difficult to stop by a defense when a team has so much experience and confidence in a run like that.
3rd and short. Hillis checks in at the tailback spot. Can you guess where he's going? Straight downhill.
That's a truck.
And driving through.
That's a truck. That's truck. That's the truck right there.
Coach, what do they call plays like that? What did you guys call?
Well, it's an isolation or a blunt play. You know, either way, and you know, everybody has a term for it. Some people call it truck or tank or elephant or wherever you want, whatever the term it is for it. But as we saw Carolina do, it's just a lead play up inside, and you get a double team and try and knock people off the ball.
That was a quick shot there of offensive coordinator Brian Dable. Well chronicled, he and Coach Cornell got into it last week on the sideline. That'll happen when you've only got 1 win. That's 2 on the carry by Hillis.
Well, and Peyton Hillis, they've changed gears here now. Peyton Hillis is going to run from tackle to tackle. They're not going to ask him to do those other things. But he can still, on the inside zones, roll it and stretch it, try to move those linebackers. And if they don't move, hit it up there or cut back if you can get them to move.
5 consecutive runs for Kansas City. McCluster checks in. He's a receiver, converted from running back. Picks up nothing. Let's go back and look at that altercation on the sideline last week.
Well, this is just a result of frustration. I think as a head coach, you expect something, you want it done, and it didn't happen that way, and you just got to get your point across.
Nice job, our guys down in the truck. Our producer, P.T. Navarro.
I've been on both ends of that, by the way.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, when Chuck knocks, that's not a comfortable thing at all.
That's an old school. Guys pulling up the archives there from last week. 3rd and 8 throw. Check down. He's short. That's Cyrus Gray. Back to Los Angeles, our first game break of the day. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Facing Seattle, the Bears defense gets its league-leading 34th turnover of the year, and the offense turns it into points with style. Earl Bennett up and over the goal line. 7-0 Bears on top of the Seahawks in the first quarter. Ron and Mike.
Boy, I tell you what, Earl Bennett is such a terrific all-purpose player.
James Anderson is a Carolina Panther, slow to get up. We'll check on him when we come back. 7-7 game. Boy, it's that time of the year. Santa's on its way. And he's come a little early for the offense. 1 touchdown today. But this is Ryan Suckup, who's got the highest percentage of team points in the NFL. He accounts for 50% of the Chiefs' points. 42 yards out. It is straight.
Well, I'm not so sure they shouldn't change his name to Gold Cup. I mean, he's 50% of the points. You got to be kidding.
The Chiefs, in a difficult Sunday for the organization, take a 3-point lead. The Chiefs averaging 4.8 points in the first quarter on the season. Today they've got 10. Came into the game ranked as the last team in the NFL in points per game at 14. Off to a hot start offensively.
And they're mixing it up pretty good on offense. They really are. They're changing some play action passes along with the run.
And that'll be a touchback. Ball on the 20. Well, Saturday, the UFC returns to Fox as lightweight champion Vincent Henderson puts his title on the line against top contender Nate Diaz, highlighting a full night of epic fights. Coverage of UFC on Fox 5 begins Saturday at 8 p.m., 5 Pacific, only on Fox. Big-time fight there coming up. Be sure and catch that one. We've got a close one here early, 10-7. Chiefs, they've been able to do it offensively, go down the field with some nice drives. First drive, touchdown. Second drive, they go down and get points. Newton from the gun. They clear it out for him. Quick throw. And it's a little high. Is it intercepted? No. Nearly picked off by Arenas, intended for Steve Smith.
Boy, they had that set up very well. It looked like Steve had a chance to do something with that ball. But when they moved him outside, the defense, this is something that they must do. You can see the lane back inside Greg Olsen that he had here. Watch Greg Olsen's block. He's going to have to be Seiler there, but, you know, that's something that you do. But obviously, defensive, you can see them checking to that movement. It looked like they kind of understood what was going to happen there.
Tolbert checks in. They give to Tolbert. They pound it, and Tolbert lowers his shoulder. Boy, you could hear that one.
Well, and what's impressive about Mike Tolbert is that his ability is for his size to keep his feet. He really got about another yard and a half off of that. He was able, he stumbled, he's on his way down and put his hand in the ground and scrambled for another yard and a half. And that, the pile goes forward with Mike Tolbert. You're going to get one or two anyway.
He got lower than Derek Johnson. 245 pounds goes big Mike Tolbert. 3rd and 4. Ball's out. That's Tolbert. Tolbert, and look at Tolbert go. 245 pounds. He eludes a man and picks up a key first down.
Well, I'd question the 245 first of all.
Yeah, right, right.
Take a look at this run here and watch his balance. Protects the football, but look, he could have been down 3 yards back there. And then coming back, and he's a check down, but is able to run through an arm tackle there. He's got some elusiveness to him for a big man. He really does.
He ran through Travis Daniels. And, Coach, I'm just reading off the official stat sheet here. That was camp time weight, 245. he might be closer to 260 now. Williams in the middle of the pile. Not much there for Williams. A gang of red. Well, a pickup of 2 led by Tyson Jackson.
The only thing that I watching tape on D'Angelo Williams that there's just too much hesitation. I'm not used to seeing him run like this. He's make a decision. You can see a little hesitation there dancing around. They got him covered up pretty good there in offense. You just got to bury that thing in there. You're not going to pop it out of there. But come out with 5 or 6 yards instead of the 2 or 1.5 yards that he got.
The franchise's all-time leading rusher benched back in week 6 for Stewart. But with Stewart's injuries, he'll get his 6th start of the season today. Play action, pressure is there. Newton will go down. Tyson Jackson. Jackson with his first sack of the season.
And really, there's really nowhere to go. Talking to Coach Crennel before the game here yesterday, they really felt like if they could control their rushes on the outside and not go by him and not let him bail right or left and force him to go back up inside. And I'm not sure they took it away. I'm not sure why he didn't get that ball out there. I just think he felt the pressure there.
And that is the 2nd sack of the season for Jackson.
Well, let me go back to what happened, because this is really important here. That pass rush was not going to let him out of the pocket like what's happened in the past. And we've seen him. We talked about that. We've seen him bail out to the left in particular. He's not comfortable scrambling up inside. So this is this is going to be tough for him in this game.
And that's a great point, because talking to some of the Chiefs players this week, they said we have to rush under control.
Yes. And that's very important, because if you get up the field and he bails to that side, or if you get pinned and they're in man coverage, he's going to run 30 yards before he knows he got the ball.
And that is Gary Gibbs, the now defensive coordinator. He started the season as the linebacker coach. Midway through, Romeo Crennel said, wait a minute, you come down, you take over the play calling duties, the defensive coordinating duties, officially I should say, and let me focus on the entire team more.
And I think that was well done. I think that shows a trust in his staff, and lets him focus on the other side of the ball as well, and be a head coach in every respect.
He is now the defensive coordinator / linebackers coach. Third and 11 throw, the long out route, and it's money. Steve Smith with the twist, and he watches it spin, and he's got a first down.
Well, this is a nice route here by Steve Smith, but even more so, this throw had to go over a defender that's trailing him, and he put it only where you could put it and complete it. You know, it's a good route and all that, and good job, but that quarterback, the throw by him was nothing less than spectacular. He whistled that right by the DB's earlobe there.
And boy, we talk about Steve Smith. You look at his numbers. Of all the receivers in the league, I wouldn't want any parts of Steve Smith, because it doesn't look like he's slowing down. 12th year in the league. He can still burn you, and that time he burns Kansas City for 19 yards. The fake, the end around, that's Joe Adams, and Joe Adams picks up close to 5.
Joe Adams, the ball carrier.
And that was really well played. It looked like James Anderson out there on the tackle, but it really looked like he had a big play going, and he comes off the block exceptionally well.
0-0 on the clock. That is the end of the first quarter. 10-7 Chiefs. Fox NFL Sunday will return after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. We start the second quarter here in Kansas City. Ron Pitts, Mike Martz, Christina Pink.
And that was Justin Houston that played off that block and made that play here before. That was old-timer's disease by Coach Martz.
The give there to Williams, and Williams breaks through for the first down. He squeezes out to the 30-yard line, finally brought down by Sean Smith, a pickup of 11.
That's the peak of D'Angelo Williams. That's what we're used to seeing. Stretch, be decisive now. Stick your foot in the ground and get that ball north and south. And that was well done by both the offensive line and, of course, D'Angelo Williams.
2 quick scores by Kansas City. They weren't able to score on the first possession all season long. They finally do it today. Ryan Suckup hit from 42 yards out. He's been 50% of the offense. On the other side for Carolina, 47-yard touchdown strike. Newton to Olsen. Fakes the give. Going downtown looking for LaFell. Tight coverage, no flag. Nicely done there by Brandon Flowers.
You know, talking to some of the guys in the organization, it came up that Cam Newton, about 3 weeks ago, on his own, went to all the position meetings and took responsibility for his actions and the way he's played. Boy, is that big. You know, that's the first step in a young man really maturing and being accountable to his teammates and to himself for his play. And from that point on, he's been on this upward trend.
That's what you call accountability.
Yes, indeed.
And that's what you pay the big money to a guy like that for. You expect that. That's outside to Joe Adams. That's the 4th-round pick out of Arkansas. He'll be about a yard, and maybe about 3 yards shy of the first, depending on how they mark it.
He just looks so much more comfortable in the last few weeks. You know, in the pocket, making decisions. He just does not look like he is going too fast with everything. He's very comfortable.
That's Brandon Flowers down. We'll check on him after this. Flowers walked off under his own power. Nico Thorpe checked in. This is a 3rd down and short. Looks one way, going to Steve Smith. Smith has it. Is he in? Both feet? Yes. Right over Nico Thorpe.
Well, there's something that's very important about what just happened here with Steve Smith. He let that defender feel like he was hip to hip, and then at the last second, he absolutely accelerated. Take a look at what I'm talking about. Now, right here off the jam, he's cruising. Now, watch. Boom. He just at the end, the last 3 steps, he accelerates to that ball, and it's just perfectly thrown. You can't throw a ball in the end zone better than what he just did right there. But both players at the top of their game right there on that play, execution-wise.
And they went right after the rookie Thorpe that just came in 23 yards. And, Coach, you're talking about that separation. I mean, as a corner, that's what you dread, losing the guy at the defining moment in the pass route.
Well, he's got you turned. You feel like you're running hip to hip, as you know, you played the position, and then all of a sudden he leaves you with a half a step, and that's just enough to make the play.
Carolina's first lead today. The review is good, so is the extra point. And the Panthers going to their big man, their big little man, getting it done, 14-10. Boy, that was Auburn Tiger on Auburn Tiger. Thorpe.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely,
That's right. And, you know, you look back at what Thorpe did, and we'll look at it again. He did everything right. He got the jam. He ran up the field step for step. But as you say, Coach, he lost contact there at the last few seconds.
And really, though, it was so well executed by Steve Smith. I'm not sure what you could have done differently as a corner.
I didn't see anything.
No. You know, take a look here at Steve Smith's release. As he comes off the football, you're going to see him get jammed right here and then get vertical again. Now, that's very important because he's leaving yards outside for the quarterback. And then down to 5-yard line right there, the 3-step where he bursts. That's very, very subtle. You can see him stretch for that. So there's 2 points here that are incredibly important by a terrific player.
He pushed off a little bit, but you know what? In this league, they're going to do that. Newton and Thorpe played together at Auburn. 2 yards on that run.
And those plays speak so well for who he is as a pro and a player.
Yep. 5-time Pro Bowler. A guy really you talk about who has climbed that ladder, had some issues off the field, but taking care of business, a consummate pro right now, and a great role model. Jason Phillips on that last tackle. He's subbing in for Anderson. And that's on the run, Charles, for a couple. Let's go down to Christina.
Thanks, Ron. Linebacker James Anderson not in the game right now. He was poked in the eye, had to be helped off the field. I've been watching him on the sideline. He can barely get his left eye open. It's already swollen up a little bit, and the trainers have been working on him. He's also suffering from a little bit of a back tightness, but he's got some ice on the left eye right now, Ron.
All right, Christina, thank you very much. That's a tough one there, boy. Hard enough to play this game when you can see. 3rd down and 7. Quinn, the long out route. Plenty of room given there by Norman. That's Bo, and Bo with an easy 1st down.
And this is what you want to see out of Brady Quinn. Decisive, accurate. He's in command of the huddle. Look at him. He's yelling at his guys to get back into the huddle. This is exciting to see him play like this. It really is. Let me go back and say something about those first 2 runs, though, too, Ron. Jamal Charles was not able to get his shoulders once he made his cut up the field. He was still sideways, and on that running play, that's not a good thing.
So I think Stevenson, Donald Stevenson, the rookie, got away with a hole a little bit on that tackle side, but now they go downtown, and it's not there. Everybody wants the flag. They won't get it. Captain Munnerlyn in pocket with Dwayne Bowe.
And let me go back and talk about those 2 runs. What happens when you're going sideways as a runner and your shoulders in contact in the bodies that are around you, your momentum's going, your shoulders are to the sideline. You've got to get your shoulders up the field and a body lean and get going north and south sooner or later, and that just didn't happen.
No flags today thus far. Don't want to hex the game, but that's Charles looking for the back door there. Didn't get much of it. A pickup of 2.
Well, but you know what? This is an attitude play, and this is the play that they opened up with, a lead play week with the fullback, and now he stuck his foot in there. Got to look at these shoulders, and he ran into the back lineman a bit there. But now you can drive through these arm tackles and get that extra yard or 2 in the clinch like this and get a lean going and get that first down.
Greg Hardy on that last tackle. This is a 3rd and 8. They bring 5, dump it off to Charles. Charles well short of the first down. Norman is there first to push him out of bounds, and Kansas City will have to punt.
Well, I think probably what's happened there is when they prepared to see this defense, I feel like he saw man coverage and got the ball to the back immediately. That's the matchup that he was looking for, and all of a sudden it wasn't what he thought the coverage was, and there's 2 defenders there. So I think they showed him something and fooled him a little bit, and that's going to happen with an inexperienced quarterback in this league.
Joe Adams back deep to receive the Dustin Colquitt punt. Colquitt, not a good one. And boy, he's come in with a nice average, had some nice kicks, had a 68-yarder this year. Not much there. Steve Smith doing what he does best. 14-10 Panthers. Ron Pitts, Mike Martz, Christina Pink down on the sideline. 14-10 game. There's a look at Brandon Flowers now. He walked off the field, took a shot there early and just didn't look right. And I'm not so sure he's going to be back into this one.
Boy, that's a big loss for them if he doesn't come back.
Williams looking cut back. He's got a nice gain on first down, picks up about 6 yards.
And he's decisive there, Ron. He stuck his foot in the ground and got north and south like we were talking about.
Ron Pitts, Mike Martz, a nightmare set of circumstances here in Kansas City the last 24 hours. And as we talked about at the top of the game, Mike, and really throughout the pregame, but how do you take yourself from what's gone on to playing a football game in light of those circumstances?
Well, I think what we've seen Kansas City come out kind of emotionally and be intense, and what's going to be hard for them is to sustain this throughout the entire game, particularly second half now.
Second and 4 give. Now all of a sudden Williams is starting to feel his Cheerios there. He gets close to midfield and another first down.
And that's a danger when you're playing an emotional game like this. As a coach, you're always concerned that, you kind of get everything out there early in the game and you have a tendency to fall off, and rightfully so with what's happening with these guys. Nobody can blame them, but it's going to be very difficult for them to keep their intensity up.
And that man there, Romeo Crennel, as I posed to you several times since the incident yesterday, how does he get himself together to be able to go out and coach after witnessing one of his players commit suicide? And that's Newton about 2 yards shy of the first down, a pickup of 8. Out to Los Angeles. Let's check in with Kurt Menefee.
And we will check in on the Vikings and Packers. Christian Ponder finding his tight end, Kyle Rudolph, in the end zone. And then Rudolph looks for 2 anywhere. Just 2 Viking fans. That's all I need. Then does the Lambeau Leap. 10-7, Packers on top in the second. Ron and Mike.
Well, all right, Kurt, a look at the NFC North, boy. I don't know what people expected out of that division this year, but what they've got is a red-hot one. Chicago surprised some people. And Green Bay, Minnesota will fight it out, chasing the 2. A timeout called by Carolina. 14-10, Panthers. Well, Saturday, the UFC returns to Fox as lightweight champion Vincent Henderson puts his title on the line against top contender Nate Diaz, highlighting a full night of epic fights. Coverage of UFC on Fox 5 begins Saturday at 8 p.m., 5 p.m., and only on Fox.
And Jeremy Bridges is back in at right guard. And he's the guy that they kind of like, and of course, there he goes. He's the guy that jumps here right away, too. But
Ball start. Number 72, offense, 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Trying to give my guy some props right there, Ron, and sure enough, he jumps. But he's the guy that the coaching staff felt like is really a terrific run blocker, or has a better chance anyway in the running game. It's hard when you rotate linemen in there like that for them to kind of get in the groove, just like it is for a running back.
Our first call, our first penalty today. Our referee, John Perry, giving us the call. Jaleel Brown has subbed in for Flowers in the secondary. Brown is number 30. Plenty of time going up the field. And the coverage is solid this time around. They switch it up there, looking for the tight end Olsen. That's Eric Berry, the safety. He'll end up outside there.
And anytime you're losing the clock as a quarterback, you've got to get the attention of the center. He's making his, you can see Jeremy Bridges there turns around, looks for the center. Let him know when the balls get snapped. He's got to get his attention, say, hey, it's like what we call an Omaha call. We got to get this thing snapped. I'm losing the clock.
Carolina solid thus far on third down today. Calling for the ball. Ball is there. Three-man push around the corner. Newton feels it, still moving. Boy, this is what a great player can do for you. He'll be short of the first down. Great pursuit by Kansas City, and the pressure initially there by Tom Bahali.
You know, the only thing that's disappointing to me about this play really is Cam does a terrific job of escaping here, but the wide receivers have got to work back and give him something here. They're just not, they're together. They've got to stay apart and come back to that quarterback there and give him an opportunity to get him the ball.
So Brad Nortman, standing at his 40-yard line, will try to kill this one inside the 15. Second flag today. Movement early.
False start. Number 78. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Fourth down.
On the kick team, that's Nate Chandler. A look at Ron Rivera there. Told us yesterday, we are well aware, as everyone around the league is, of the unfortunate circumstances the Chiefs went through. So we come into this game definitely with heavy hearts for them in that regard. But as the Chiefs also said, we've got to line up and play. The league has made that decision. And play they have. High punt. They'll need to get a great backspin. Doesn't quite get it. Hardy hustling down. Can't get there. 51 yards. And it'll be a touchback. Newton almost pulled out some magic. The Chiefs trying to chase him down. 14-10 Carolina. Well, you talk about Carolina's season. It all started with center Ryan Khalil guaranteeing a Super Bowl win. But then it turns the other way. Khalil out for the season with a foot injury. GM Marty Herney replaced, in 4 blown leads late in the game to find the season for the Panthers midway through. They come into this game with a 3-8 record, but that's why I say a huge win for them last week in Philadelphia against a struggling, yes, we know, struggling Eagle team, but you take that victory anytime you can.
And they could have beat the Falcons very easily, beat the Bears when they played them up there. When you watch this football team throughout the season, you have to give credit to Ron Rivera to keeping these guys focused and being in a position to win those games. And last week, for the first time, really, they won a tight one and got past that hump, or that monkey on his back, so to speak. So they're competing well. They're playing for him. I think he's doing a terrific job. They've got some issues, obviously, you know, with the offensive line, the inside three, and getting those backs involved again. And that does apply to that offensive line as well. So to me, when you have a record like that, the big question is, are you getting better and are they competing? And I think you give them a yes and a yes in both those categories.
So Brady Quinn will take over at the 20-yard line. Quinn, remember, originally the 22nd player picked overall from the Cleveland Browns back in 2007. Never could really find his niche, his spot, as he hands that one off to Charles.
Well, Jamal Charles, I know that didn't look like much, but he did put his foot in the ground, and he took it to the defender there and moved that pile, and probably was stopped at the line of scrimmage and was able to get that 2-yard gain. And that's what good backs or great backs do. And the shoulders have got to be going downhill up the field as you pass through that line of scrimmage.
Set with 80. Boy, head hot. 39, flag set. 120.
Second and 8 throw. Checks it down. That's Charles, and Charles saw the pursuit coming quickly. He'll be about 2 yards shy of the first.
Well, this is the only thing that I saw early in his career in the NFL that I was concerned about, is giving things a chance to happen downfield. And that's a decision. He has to turn it loose at times and make those really difficult throws. And, you know, check downs will come up. And you'd like to see him get down the field a little bit more.
They give the Gray around the corner. And let's see where they mark it. A flag goes down. Juwan Edwards along with Kuechly on the tackle, but we've got a push. Looks like hands to the face.
Illegal use of hands. Hands to the face. Defense, number 76. 5-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
Greg Hardy. Remember, the Panthers now without one of their key players down inside. Talking about Ron Edwards, a defensive tackle, gone for the season with an injured elbow. And that's big for them because that's how you control the run game inside.
Well, and I think probably the biggest issue for these guys is, you know, this is an edge running game, and you can see him right there as he goes through there. He was inside there, but getting to the edge, you've got to use your hands to get off these and close those inside run seams.
Play action. Didn't go downfield, checked it down instead. And that's the Jamar Newsom.
And I got to tell you, I have to tell you,
I know what you saw.
Yeah. I think the whole stadium saw it. He had the tight end in the crease there, and I thought it was just going to be a real nice play, and he checked it down. And again, this goes back to the concern that I have. Take those throws down the field. Some might be tight, but that's the only way you're going to win.
You're talking about Moyaki right there.
Right there, you can see him.
Number 81.
180.
Back to the ground. Charles may have lost on the play. Neblett is there along with Davis. They'll mark it officially no gain.
I think Carolina defensively has done a real good job of squeezing those seams and not letting Charles outside or planting his foot and come backside. They're disciplined and holding their gaps on this outside zone play, which is incredibly important for the defense.
Ryan Dable, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, not happy with that play, and I don't blame him. The last 6 carries, 11 yards total for the Chiefs. Plenty of time. Forces one inside. It's a high, hot one, but Bo comes down with it.
Those are the throws he's got to make. Get in there and make that throw and let your guys make a play. That's what they're there for. So they get paid to do. And straightens his route back up, puts it up there where he can get it. And on those deep posts or in routes, you want the ball high above his head where he can reach it and get it, and not around his body where it can be knocked away.
And Bo passing Otis Taylor for third most catches in franchise history. Coming down with a great catch on that play. Going backwards, that's Charles. Nice play there. Thomas Davis, 3 ACL injuries. He's still out there plugging away.
Well, Dwayne Bowe is quietly over there, has put together just a terrific career. He is their #1 receiver, terrific speed, big body, and the play we just witnessed, those are the kinds of plays you want of your #1 receiver, to go up in a crowd and battle and take that ball away. And you got to give him that opportunity.
Alert! Alert!
That's a loss of 1 on that play, though. It's 2nd and 11. Hillis in the backfield. Hillis, he finds a crease. Puts his shoulder down. Andre Neblett there for the tackle, a pickup of 4.
You know, watching Dwayne Bowe on tape here getting ready to do this game, Ron, and one of the things I was a little bit disappointed was against press man. He was struggling, and I've not seen that with him before. And with his big body and his speed, you know, if you just put the ball out there, Michael Irvin wasn't the quickest guy in the world, but, you know, Troy Aikman would get that ball out there, and Michael would make a play. And I think that's the same situation to some extent that we're looking at. Give him a chance to make a play.
You're talking about the difference between guys in stats and practice and football players, aren't you?
Yes, indeed.
Movement on this 3rd and 7.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense, number 95. Went into the neutral zone, which caused a reaction by the offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Nice catch there, John Perry, to Charles Johnson. he moves into the zone, but it caused the offensive man to flinch.
Well, we talked to head coach Romeo Cornell about Brady Quinn and managing the game. That's what he wanted him to do. So I think part of the reluctance to take the ball downfield is they really are stressing no turnovers, which has been really a disaster for him for most of the season.
That's the 2-minute warning. Chiefs approaching the red zone. This one going back and forth. Under the 2-minute warning, 14-10 game. After the penalty, we've still got a 3rd down and short.
Hey, 180.
He's got McCluster inside the 25-yard line, and the Panthers hurt.
Very impressive by Brady Quinn. He moved his eyes twice and got back inside as his 3rd read. Very patient and really poised. Boy, he's just really impressed me in this game so far.
That's Rashad Martin, the 4th-year safety out of Troy. He immediately grabbed that leg and went down. Right now, let's go back to L.A. and Kurt Menefee and see what he's got on tap for halftime.
Hey, coming up on the Visa halftime.
You'll get caught up on a great day of action in the NFL.
Including
The
Detroit
Lions.
and Indy and Tom Brady and the Dolphins and a whole lot more
A whole bunch more.
on the Visa halftime.
And we will be in Sarasota on the 29th for a big revival. 2 shows. 2 shows.
Well,
Boy,
you know,
those guys.
Ron, for me, the biggest disappointment is Detroit. I really felt like this is such a good football team, and to be where they are right now is hard to imagine. I just number 2 in the league on offense and 10 on defense, and I know their frustration.
There's Sherrod Martin. Martin had his hands on a couple balls last week against Philadelphia.
Well, it's Ron, with all due respect, we know the corners are corners because they can't catch the ball.
Hey, easy, coach. Man, now you hurt me every time you say that one. And another look at what happened to Martin. Yeah, got the leg rolled up on there.
Yeah, you got it planted and got it bent there.
Well, that's definitely not good. Being assisted off the field, obviously, is Martin. We'll try to get an official word on what exactly he has there when we can. Meanwhile, for Kansas City's offense, Brady Quinn, you talked about Quinn being in form now in stride. He has hit 6 in a row.
Switch. Come out.
Well, I think you got a misalignment here by the wideouts.
And they'll talk it over. Well, this Tuesday, Fox Fight Week has our 4 knockout rounds of non-stop comedy with all new heavyweight episodes of Raising Hope, Finn and Kate, New Girl, and The Mindy Project. The funniest night on television starts this Tuesday at 8, 7 Central. It's all part of Fight Week here on Fox.
And as you look at Sherrod Martin go off, that's a substituted defense. If you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you know now that in that substituted defense, they're short a guy. So to get 3 wide receivers and make them put an adjusted group on defense that hasn't practiced necessarily as much time together, I think it's very important. I used to watch that all the time. You get an injury in a nickel defense like that, a substitute defense, then you come out with that same personnel grouping and make them pay.
180. Hot.
Boy, the hard count has gotten Carolina a couple times here in this quarter.
You could hear the voice inflection.
Encroachment. Defense. Number 68. 5-yard penalty. First down.
And of course, a hard count, for those of you that don't know what it is you mimic a regular count, but the ball's not snapped. And when on the cadence where you normally snap it, you hit it real hard and emphasize it with your voice. Thus the term hard count.
Or if you eat the pie that your wife was saving for tomorrow night, then you hear the hard count from her as well. 1st and 5, good. Boy, and Charles almost broke that one. He gets down to about the 10-yard line.
Well, this is a play that they've not shown yet. This is a weak side power play where they wrap the fullback through and pull the offside guard. And this is a terrific compliment to zone teams. I love it's completely opposite in nature to the rest of their running game.
Another injured Panther. That's Frank Alexander, the 4th-round pick this year out of Oklahoma. Comes into the game with 2.5 sacks. He seems to be okay walking off. A pickup of 9 on that play.
Well, you got to like so far the game that Brian Dable has been calling. There's a real good change up there in the type of run. You show them the zone play, you show, and then all of a sudden you change gears and you go to a power football. And, you know, they took away to some extent this outside zone play, and they have a nice answer for that.
2 injury timeouts taken now, forced on Carolina by rule, under 2 minutes. So Carolina with no timeouts left. Charles breaks 1 tackle, gets it down to the 5-yard line.
Well, this is a page right out of Norv Turner's playbook where you have a successful run, you come right back with it and see if they can stop it a second time. And terrific job there by Jamal Charles stepping out of that. Powerful legs, boy, and balance. He's been very impressive here.
Lost to the similar injury that Adrian Peterson had a couple years ago as Charles goes over the 1,000-yard mark for the 3rd time. Kudos to him, as we say, coming off of an ACL knee injury. That's tough to do. The give to Hillis. Hillis trying to turn a corner. Goes head-to-head with Godfrey and is pushed out of bounds at the 1-yard line. Boy, that was a big-time hit by both players.
Well, it is. And Charles Godfrey, the first thing he's going to do is straighten his helmet up and get that license on the truck that hit him. Watch Peyton come around here and squeeze that ball, drop that shoulder, and turn him completely sideways.
Big Sean Smith, number 90, checks in. Godfrey looks to be okay. He got up staggering a little bit for good reason. 90 is at the lead fullback spot, and he'll lead. Hillis, is he in? No sign. No. Meanwhile, the clock is running.
I think you got to use this timeout here.
4th down.
Unless you had 2 plays called.
Well, they're not acting like they got down.
No, it's 4th down. Beg your pardon. Let it go down so it's 3 seconds and you get your play called.
And that's exactly what Romeo Crennel is doing.
You know, they're doing this just so that they do score here on 4th down. They don't want Carolina to have an offensive opportunity before the half, which is only smart. You get down to usually you tell the quarterback or you step out and you call the timeout at 3 because I tell you what, sometimes it actually takes a tick or 2 before they'll call it and actually stop the clock. So instead of stopping it at 1 second, for instance.
And remember, Carolina lost the 2 timeouts because of injuries under 2 minutes. So they couldn't stop the clock to try to preserve time on the other end if they wanted to. Don't forget, coming up, the Visa halftime report. Kurt and the gang will be in the studio with all the highlights and action from around the NFL. So far, an efficient game for Brady Quinn. 11 of 13, 121. No interceptions.
And Donald Stevens checks in as a tight end, the left tackle, the backup left tackle that has played some. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them run over the left side with those 2 big tackles cheek to cheek over there.
Play action. Inside, touchdown. Moyaki. The Chiefs will score again just before the half, and for Moyaki, his first touchdown of the season.
They look so confident in this game.
I was going to say that.
There's no panic to them. The play selection, I think, has been outstanding.
And in light of the situation, the series of events that have transpired here the last 24 hours, that's quite amazing to me.
Yes, it is.
As they take the lead by 3. And that is half here at Kansas City.
This play that they ran, this pass play, is called the All-NFL pass play. That play is in everybody's playbook, and I don't care how many times you practice it. You have 2 crossing routes underneath, and the wing goes to the back of the end zone. It just never seems to fail. The score. I'd be interested for all teams to see what the scoring percentage is on it.
And Quinn just adding to a nice half, 12 of 14, 122, and now a touchdown.
Well, I think that he's making a statement here, and let's see if he can't continue this now in the second half.
Meanwhile, on the other side, Cam Newton, 6 of 10, 116. He came out blazing, but seems to have cooled down quite a bit. He's got 2 touchdowns. Neither quarterback has thrown an interception.
Yeah, but you know that there's a time differential in possession too. That, you know, there's a reason for that.
3-point game. Chiefs in the lead. Let's go to Los Angeles. In the Visa halftime report, here's Kurt Menefee. Be sure and follow your favorite football team all season long. Go to itunes.com/NFL and get it handled. And that man has handled it today thus far very well. That's Dwayne Bowe with some nice catches as we get set for kick here in the second half in a very difficult Sunday.
And he showed up as a #1 receiver should have. You know, 5 catches and over 50 yards, and that's what you'd expect out of somebody of his ability.
The Chiefs' first lead at the half this season. That will go into the end zone for a touchback, 17-14. Mike, we talked about the efficiency of both teams in light of the unfortunate circumstances coming into this game.
Well, they're playing mistake-free football. You look at the third down, 80% and 57%. Those are just off the charts, both of them. And, you know, the Chiefs have been able to dominate the clock so far, and I'm sure it's frustrated Cam Newton in that offense because they just are low on opportunities.
And low possessions for both teams. The Panthers have only had 3 possessions coming out of the first half. The Chiefs with 4 possessions. The quick one outside to Smith. Knocks down the hand and gets it just past the 30-yard line.
And Steve Smith, to be able to get him the football with a corner that's off in coverage and let him move or maneuver one-on-one is, you know, he's going to get 10 yards plus all the time.
Coach, are you surprised that both teams have been able to play as efficient as they have in light of the circumstances?
Well, I think the Panthers were headed in that direction. I was really hopeful that Kansas City, you know, would get that passing game downfield going like they've been able to do.
And he's gotten it going a little bit today as well. That's D'Angelo Williams getting the starting call in place of Jonathan Stewart. And that's 13 yards on the first carry of the second half.
And with D'Angelo Williams carrying the load now, I think when you're not sharing the position necessarily with somebody as a runner, there's a lot to be said. And talking to Marshall Faulkner about this too, you just got to get back into the rhythm of things. I know people talk about that all the time, but you just got to keep feeding them the football, and they just get better and stronger and stronger.
Ball at the 44-yard line of the Panthers. They'll go into the gun formation. Fake to give to Williams. Looking deep. Going down the right sideline. Step for step. Intended for Murphy. And it's well covered there by Jaleel Brown, subbing in for the injured Brandon Flowers. Let's go down to Christina Pink.
Thank you, Ron. Well, I did get a chance to catch up with Chiefs head coach Romeo Crennel at halftime, and he said, you know what, I'm doing well, and, you know, if I could lead my team to victory today, I'll be doing a lot better. I asked him, under the circumstances, how do you think your team has responded? And he said, I always tell my guys that they have to play together. Today, they are playing together, and they're scoring.
Boy, and playing together.
Indeed they are.
They are. That's an understatement. Jeremy Bridges checks in up front. There's a quick one to LaFell, and LaFell loses the ball, but he's down and the ball rolls out of bounds.
The measure of any wide receiver ultimately is run after the catch. And Brandon LaFell has showed up in recent weeks particularly with the ability to make guys miss after the catch and get those extra yards. You can see two defenders here. Oops, there's one. Here comes the other guy to fish him up. But earlier, you know, he made two guys miss right at the line of scrimmage and put that thing into a 4 or 5 yard game because that was close to a disaster.
Yeah, and, you know, he wasn't down. I thought his knee had touched it. Did not. Newton Pratt for the ball. 3rd and 6. They bring the pressure. It's late. He's got LaFell. LaFell drops the ball.
Well, this is the first time that we've seen Kansas City bring pressure, big pressure, more than just 4 or 5 rushers, and Cam's did a terrific job of standing in there and getting that ball down the field. When you have guys bearing down on you, unblocked, and you know you're going to get whammied, that's the measure of any quarterback, and he did a terrific job of that.
And Javier Arenas was on the coverage, but he is shaken up on the play. I don't know if he got a hand in there at the last second, or whether it was just a clean drop. It looked like a clean drop, but we'll check on Arenas when we come back. A close one for the Panthers. LaFell looked to have had the ball, but couldn't find the handle.
And those plays sometimes come back to haunt you at the end, and well, I tell you what, he's got to feel awful about that.
Especially in a game like this, going back and forth. McCluster securing the catch on the 39-yard punt. Let's go back and look at that drop.
You know, on these deep balls, the biggest issue is you just got to make sure that you have eye contact with the ball because your body is changing so much. You know, it's like a rattling car, and you've got to see that thing into your hands, and I'm not sure he didn't take his eyes off it or close his eyes at the last second. You can see it where his eyes are. He doesn't see the ball hit his hands, and, you know, that's on deep balls, that's incredibly important to see it right to your hands because there's so much movement with your body.
Very unlike the Brandon LaFell of late. 1st and 10 give from the I formation. That's been there all day. Charles already over the 1,000-yard rushing mark for the 3rd time in his career.
Now take
he
a
picks
look,
up 9 there.
Excuse me, Ron. Take a look at the shot here into Cam's legs, and you know he fell down onto it. But boy, I tell you what, when you're under pressure like that, you're going to take those shots, and that's why it's so important that it works, that you make him pay.
James Anderson, number 50, back in the game for Carolina. He went out in the first half with an injury. Back to Charles. He'll take the first down with 2 yards.
I got to tell you, this is my favorite run in football. The lead back going weak side with the back and just pounding it down here. That's good old-fashioned football. And the back really has a chance to come all the way back if he wants to, but it's an attitude play. You let your guys come off the ball and tee off from the defense, and the back has a choice. He's got some options on the run. I love that run play.
Adam. Wait, 80.
Two tight end fake the give to Hillis, and there's a sack. No place for Quinn to go. Kuechly along with Dewan Edwards applying the pressure.
And Ron, he was looking at Dwayne Bowe, and it didn't look like Dwayne Bowe. I'm not sure what he was doing because Dwayne did not look like he was at full speed down the field. It looked like he was, for some reason, thought it was a run, and he's not clearing out of there very fast. And, you know, that as a quarterback, he's just not going real good there. And, well, you got to get out of there. These other receivers coming.
And there was a safety over the top, so you could see why Quinn held on to it. There's room there for Charles. Charles up by his helmet there. He'll be about 5 yards shy of the first. Anderson on the tackle, and a nice day shaping up for Charles. He's had some nice runs early, gone over the 1,000-yard mark, as I mentioned. A guy who had a really tough offseason trying to come back after that ACL injury.
Oh, boy, and that's so hard for any back. He usually takes at least a year, but that last play, as you saw, he got right in the hip of the puller and stayed with him. He's just so patient, and then he explodes. There's some of those little details that are Marshall-esque to me.
Speaking of Marshall Faulk, which one of your former players, key part of that greatest show on turf offense, that's Hillis with the first down.
Brady Quinn, I'll tell you what. Now, this looks like a vet quarterback. He gets the pressure. He has the back on a tight swing, or what we used to call bullets route with a cushion, and he has an opportunity to get it right on him. And he didn't wait. Last week, he had that same throw, and he didn't make it. He was too late with it. There's terrific progress with Brady Quinn from last week to this week.
Quinn, part of that original 2010 two-player trade that sent Peyton Hillis, ironically, to Cleveland, and Quinn to Denver. Backed up there in Denver for 2 years.
12 men. Defense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Carolina.
1st and 5.
Too many men on the field.
Well, Adam Gase coached the quarterbacks up there at Denver, and talking to Adam about Brady, he was just so impressed with him and felt like he is a legitimate starter in this league and could have a terrific career. So, and he spent all those hours and time with him, and that's a, you know, he's been around some good ones now, so that's a vote of confidence that really means something to me.
Star out of Notre Dame, 29 career starts, 36 school passing records when he left out of there. But you haven't seen a lot of that manifest much in the pros. That's Hillis, and Greg Hardy is there for him.
You know, one of the things about Brady is he doesn't look rushed or panicky, which at times in the past I really felt he was. He's in control of himself in the game, and getting off to the third guy as quick as he did and being decisive, he's been very impressive so far.
And his team has been impressive. No penalties, no turnovers. 2nd and 7. They bring the backer off the front side of it. Wide open. There's your tight end, Moyaki, and Moyaki inside the Panther 40-yard line.
I got the hair in the back of my neck stand up. I love it. Of course, you know I love to throw the ball down the field, but one of the things that comes up with Brady Quinn, he's such an excellent ball handler. Trent Green was the best I've ever been around. And he shows the ball to the back, pulls it out of there, and convinces the defense that ball's being handed off. And he puts it right on his body. When you get a guy that open, that's incredibly important. You got to tell him, put it on him. Don't lead him.
And don't make him have to turn backwards to catch the ball. That's 25 yards. And they go back to that run, and that run, as Charles slips down there just in front of the 30-yard line, that run sets up those kind of things down the seam you saw there with Moyaki.
Well, they got it going with this play action stuff now in the running game. You know, and we always felt when we're talking in preparation for this game, and Romeo Canal made the same comment that, boy, I tell you what, if we can get to the point where we're throwing the ball off this play action, we can get some big plays.
Be nice, Mike. Easy. Alone. CBH, Mike. Omaha.
Hillis, he's in trouble. Kuechly, the guy who's been all over the field. We're talking about the rookie first-round pick, number 9 overall out of Boston College, came in, chalked up as a tackling machine, and he has lived up to the billing.
Yes, he has. And I tell you what he's done here now is one of the things that he's going to run. He's going to run through here, and that's probably one of the most impressive things about this young man. You saw him do it in college. He has a way of getting through traffic and key and diagnose, making quick decisions like a quarterback does, and getting there and making the tackle.
Quinn working on 9 completions in a row. Center of the field. Let's see where they mark it. I think he's short, though. Nice throw and catch there. Moyaki with the reception. Looks to be about a yard shy.
Poise. He looked to the right, came back inside. He actually moved the defender. I tell you what, I'm getting goosebumps out of it. He's playing the position the way you're supposed to play it. I love it.
And at the last second there, Romeo Crennel walked over to the official. And they're going to think it over. The rookie Nakamura injured a couple plays ago. DJ Campbell checks in his place, number 26. 4th down. And that's an easy conversion. Hillis running right through James Anderson.
I think the word is through. You know, he breaks a leg tackle and an arm tackle rather, and boom, there goes, drops his shoulder, boom, underneath his shoulder pads. And, you know, I used to listen to Dick Vermeil talk about this, about the runners, Wilbert Montgomery, and about getting underneath the pad level and lifting, and Wilbert was one of the best there was at doing that.
Chill. 180. 100. Hot. Easy. Hey. Rose open. 58 spots. I'm out of set. 180.
Put that lane is there. Charles, boy, and I got to tell you, that is great audio by our Fox crew. Coach, decipher what he just said.
Well, he re-identified the linebacker. He changed the run, Rose open, whatever that means. It's different. They took it away from the force of the defense. And one of the things that happened there, once he did do that, Charles stuck his foot in the ground, got going north and south, and then on contact, he gained another 3.5 yards. You're looking at well-executed offensive football.
Hey, get to it. 180.
2nd and 2. I think he threw that one away on purpose. Let's go down to Christina.
It was covered by Charles Godfrey.
Guys, lots of injuries to report for the Panthers today. Haruki Nakamura back in the game after coming off the field and stretching out his left knee. Also, Sherrod Martin carted off the field towards the end of the first half. He is out, will not return with a right knee injury.
All right, Christina, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's very important as this game goes on. You want to be in a substitute defense when that team is low.
3rd and 2 and the quarterback give. Quinn calling his own number. He's going to be about a yard shy of the first. Boy, the time of possession, Kansas City grinding it out. Really playing more on that efficiency we talked about going to half.
Well, they really are. And the thing you got to really like is within these drives, they've had a big pass play, which was non-existent earlier in the season, or for most of the season, whether it's to the tight end or Dwayne Bowe on these 20 and 30-yard gains.
They measure just short. Kansas City with 49 offensive plays to Carolina 27 offensive plays.
And if the center does not have a defender right on top of him, I would not be surprised to see Brady quarterback sneak it again.
The area of the field, the red zone, that Romeo Crennel told us on Friday, we've got to find a way to get better and get better fast.
He's got a little crease in there. You can see it right inside there. It's tight.
Oh, he got hit. Now let's see what the forward progress is.
Well,
that's going to come down to the spot.
You can see his foot right down there. He's going to hold it right there, and he's not going to move it. Sometimes you get players trying to give him a bump or two, but he's not moving that foot.
Our line isn't the official spot. That is our best guess. That man right down there in the white hat, he's got the official spot. Before that try, Kansas City 2 for 2 on 4th down conversions today. Wow, half a ball.
They came off on that defensive line, and look at the shoulder pad level. Peyton Hills, watch where his shoulders. Look at the push by this offensive line. Holy buckets! Take a look at that. He rolls over with both arms around that ball. Good ball security. That's football.
180.
First down, they reset it. A little mix-up in the backfield, but Charles is going. Didn't bother Charles. He works down to the 3-yard line, but they nearly bumped into each other on the exchange.
Well, and those are the things that the linebackers key on, his footwork, and that footwork probably confused the backers because they're so used to seeing it go the other way. And you can see the backers on the backside started to filter that side because they read that the ball was coming on the other side.
What makes Charles so good?
Well, he has a great feel he has good run vision, first of all.
Inside, caught, touchdown, Kansas City. Baldwin.
Well, I tell you, the ball location by Brady Quinn today has been outstanding. He has put the ball right on him, allowed those receivers to make easy catches. When I say ball location, now take a real good look here at where it's right in front of him or on his body. He doesn't have to reach or jump, or the defender can't make the play.
That's just too much ground there. Josh Norman gave Baldwin. He feathered back. He left the slant wide open. 17-play drive, if you can believe that one. 87 yards, capped off by the extra point here. And the word today in a difficult Sunday for the Chiefs and the city, efficiency, 24-14. Hey, check out NFL Mobile. Just pick up your phone, call ** NFL to download NFL Mobile now and get coverage of every NFL game. 24-14, 2:52 remaining here in the third quarter. Suckup will kick this one almost out of the stadium. Ball will be taken at the 20. If he's Superman, might be time to take the suit off. Winding down the third quarter here in Kansas City, the Chiefs up comfortably. Coming off a long drive, a 17-play drive, capped with a touchdown. Tolbert back into the backfield. Time. The dump down, Williams. Williams went backwards. May have lost the game. I think they're going to mark his forward progress for at least one.
Well, let's go back and take a look at this fourth down round. Look at the body lean of the offensive lineman here, especially Asamoah. You can see the push that's happening there, and it allows Peyton Hills to get that ball across that magic mark.
Some changes in this offensive line throughout the last couple of weeks. Donald Stevenson, the third-round pick out of Oklahoma, has had to come in and take over that left tackle spots with injuries. And there's a run, Newton. Newton got it down just about a yard shy of the first down. They'll call it 8 with the progress.
And you know, Ron, we've just not seen a lot of this so far just because they haven't had opportunities. But I would think that the rest of this game, you're going to have a chance now to get him a little bit more involved like this. That's the football cha-cha right there out there corner.
I think he's trying to get in Jaleel Brown's head. Jaleel, don't talk. Just get back in the huddle. You can't match words with that man.
Nobody can.
And it's hard to match his skill level. The play clock running low. They're going to have to burn a timeout. Saturday, the UFC returns to Fox's lightweight champion. Benson Henderson puts his title on the line against top contender Nate Diaz, highlighting a full night of epic fights. Coverage of UFC on Fox 5 begins Saturday, 8 p.m., 5 p.m. Pacific, only on Fox. And Newton will call his own number and jump across the first down line.
Well, this is such a hard play to defend. Anytime you have the quarterback as a direct runner, they're really playing with an extra player on offense. because you can line up with the wing on the other side and force the extra player in defense to go over there. And now he becomes, in essence, the tailback, and that's hard on any defense.
And you remember in the beginning of the season, so much was said about how Rob Chudzinski, the offensive coordinator, had put more on the plate of Cam Newton. And you wondered, would that change his style of playing? From midway through the season on, they've gone a little bit back to the old Cam and letting him do things himself. And that one clearly overthrown, intended for Smith.
Yeah, I don't know whether that went through his hands. If it was a ball, I tell you what, though, I'm not sure that ball's got laces on it. That thing was whistling through there. That had a vapor trail. So, but when we're talking about this with Cam early, I don't know if there's a change as much as he's just playing so much better, and he's managing the game and making good decisions. And they're behind now, but they've done a good job of incorporating those backs again in the running game.
The read option. Newton, and here he goes. This is the Cam show. And that is the problem with a quarterback almost 240 pounds.
Well, and the other thing about this is when you play man-to-man coverage against Cam Newton, you're playing with fire, because this is a chance. There's nobody accounting for him. He is absolutely nobody's accounting for him. So he's reading the defense on the right side there, gets stretched, and he keeps it. Now the guy that he was supposed to read is being blocked. I don't know whether that was a mistake or not, but the point is, in man coverage, you play man and he gets out there, there's nobody there.
Boy, Derek Johnson, 56, looked like he almost pulled a hamstring trying to chase him down.
Oh, my.
That's Williams, and Williams now pushing the pile. You forget, Coach, that Newton, 245 pounds, also runs about a 4.4 40-yard dash. End of the third, 24-14 Chiefs. Fox NFL Sunday will return after these messages. Check out number 56 in red coming into your screen right there. This is what happens when you try to chase a guy that can run a 4.4 if you don't run a 4.4. Looked like Johnson pulled up.
Yes, it did. And, that's you have to, when you feel that twinge, boy, you got to back off, otherwise it can get ugly.
Not saying Johnson can't run, but that's a different kind of speed. 28 yards on that gallop by Newton. Looking for the hole. It's wide open. Williams couldn't quite get to it, but does fall forward for the first down and 4 yards.
I just have been so impressed with DeAngelo Williams and his second effort, breaking tackles, run after the first hit, shoulder pads down and running through, full body hits and glancing off it and getting the first down.
9 carries, 60 yards, 6.7 a carry for Williams. Corey Greenwood, the third-year man out of Concordia University, steps in for the injured Johnson. Play action, he's got a ton of time. There's a sail route. Can he get it? No. Olsen had the open area, but by the time the ball got there, it was too late. He ran out of real estate.
Well, he did have playing time. He just took too much of a picture of this thing. I think that once he gets a run out the fake, he sees it and I'll let it go. And just lay it out there. He's just too firm of a throw. Those are touch passes that you just kind of lay in there. And guys with those big arms, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult.
There's Derek Johnson getting a little hydration.
Yep.
Second and 10. The read again. It popped big for 28. It's going to pop again. Superman inside the 10-yard line. Finally brought down by Tyson Hartman.
And talking to Romeo Cornell yesterday, they were going to slow play this zone read and play cat and mouse with the quarterback. And Cam Newton did a real nice job here of body language. And you can see he's going to look at that defender right there. And he kind of gave him a little juke like he was going to pitch it, went up underneath that thing. Looked like there's too much penetration there to play that.
He juked Tamba Ali. A run of 20, a run of 28 for Cam Newton.
And I think Tamba just penetrated too much to be effective on that play.
First trip in the red today for Carolina, looking for Steve Smith. And it's overthrown. Out to Los Angeles. Let's check in with Kurt Menefee.
Here's something we haven't seen in a while, a rushing touchdown for the Packers. James Starks from 22 yards out. First Green Bay rushing score in 7 games. Ron and Mike, that's 217 attempts dating back to week 5. More importantly, it gives them the lead 20-14 over the Vikes.
Yeah, Kurt, it's cold up there in Green Bay this time of year. You might want to bring your run game out.
Well, you got to have it going up there in Green Bay. You got to have a run game up there.
Play clock running low quickly. He got it off. The slant. Is he in? Touchdown, Carolina. Louis Murphy.
When you look at Lewis on this route, he moved the corner outside and then ducked underneath him. And that tight bounce coverage that you have, you really like what he's doing here. He can make that little stutter move outside and then come back underneath. Very effective. Gets the corner back. It's a change of speed and a little step outside. Gets the corner back on his heels. And boy, I tell you what, Isaac Bruce did it better than anybody in the league. And that's a real fine route by that young man.
Louis Murphy with the touchdown, brought in a trade from the Oakland Raiders, spent 3 years out there. He beat Jaleel Brown. Brown subbing in today for the injured Brandon Flowers.
I think we saw Louis Murphy early in the year on a 60-yarder down the field.
A world-class sprinter. Not showing the speed there, but showing the quicks and being able to catch the ball and get inside. The extra point is clean. And we've got a 3-point game here in Kansas City. Back here in Kansas City, Ron Pitts, Mike Martz. This thing has gone back and forth all game long. 6 touchdowns of the day, 6 different players on both sides of the ball. Coach, you remarked again during the break how efficient this game is under the circumstances.
Well, you're looking at a 1-10 and 3-8 team, and you wouldn't know that as you watch this game. It's a very well-played football game, mistake-free and really well executed.
Drone won't even move. That kick sails out of the end zone. Charles over 1,000 yards, having a nice day. It's a close one. This series between the two teams tied at 2 apiece, with the Panthers winning the last 2 matchups. However, the Chiefs have won 4 of the last 5 here at home versus NFC opponents, and this looks to be shaping up like a career day for Brady Quinn. He'll come out passing. The out is there, and then a little more. Dwayne Bowe.
Well, the ball location, again, as you look at this last play, it dots between the 8 and the 2. The ball location being you want it on the body or just out in front of a receiver running across where he can run through it. He's made it so easy for these receivers to catch the football. He's decisive, and he's very accurate. The ball's out on time. Checks it down under pressure, avoiding sacks. I tell you, it's a remarkable day for him.
17 of 20, 178, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Hillis going sideways. That is not where his strength is. Nakamura is there.
Well, I think Brady's making a statement here. You know, the way he's played, there just have not been any flaws. And one of the things that Romeo Crennel was looking for in this position was manage the game. The next step for Brady was to make these throws down the field in the open. When we talk about this, Ron, this is a big deal. He's made those throws down to the tight end, the wide receiver, for 20 and 30-yard gains, and you can build on this.
304 yards passing is his career high. He's a ways from that, but otherwise a very productive day. That's Luke Kuechly there on the tackle on Charles.
Well, he sniffed that out very well. You know, one of the things about Brady Quinn, too, is with the effectiveness of this running game, it lends itself to some terrific openings in the defense when you play action pass. And this is a point that, again, Romeo Crennel had made earlier.
We'll have to see some of that here. This is a big 3rd and 10 at this stage of the game. Hit as he's thrown well short of the first down. McCluster with the reception. But the pressure there by Hardy, and they'll have to punt.
Well, and one of the things that when the pocket collapses like this, the thing you like about Brady is he's hanging in there and trying to make the throw, and you can see him getting chipped on the other side, and Hardy comes off the bottom side where he doesn't get the chip, and it's right in his face. But the chip on the top side, because he's looked to the left side, is huge.
Colquitt, he gets his leg into this one. High punt, fair catch called by Joe Adams. And that's where Cam Newton will come on the field, 49 yards on the punt. 3-point game here in the fourth. Now this is the stage of the game, the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter, where Carolina has struggled, and they have talked openly about being able to close games.
There ain't no question. It's important if Cam is going to be one of the elite in this league at that position, he's got to step up.
Williams around the corner. He'll get a couple.
If you take a look at this drop that happened to Brandon LaFell in the third quarter, you just never know when this is going to come back to bite you. And as a coach, you can account for everything. Basically, it happens on that field except drop passes.
That play a couple of drives ago, as Coach says, that could come back. The Panthers struggling this year, struggling the last 2 years in games decided by 7 or less. That is exactly the situation we're in right now with 10:27 to play. Williams picking his way. He'll be about 2 yards shy of the first.
And I think what's happening here is really important is that they're putting it in D'Angelo Williams' hands here, which they've not done in the past. They're riding this running game with the running backs and keeping Cam, you know, they can't just load up on Cam now and isolate him, Cam Newton that is, and D'Angelo Williams, he's got to show up big in the fourth quarter.
Tackle there by Houston along with Poe. And here comes the noise. Out of the backfield, and they forgot about him. And Big Mike rumbles down the sidelines for a big first down.
Boy, how big a piece is he in this offense when you look at all the things that he does in special teams.
15 yards on that gallop. No wonder his name has been. He stepped out well upfield there. You can see John Perry and his crew on that, but no wonder his name has been mentioned in the Pro Bowl voting quite a bit this season.
And those numbers look like they're stretched pretty good across his chest, don't they?
Down and off. Holding, no place to go. And he's sacked. Thought about it one too many times, and Justin Houston, the team's leading sack man, comes up with another one.
Well, you know, and Cam Newton with his ability to beat the defense with his legs, he's confident here. He's hanging on to the ball, hanging on the ball. This is almost a 5-second pass and trying to buy time to get it down there. And they've contained him and made him scramble inside. And this is what they said they were going to do. It's been very effective.
Houston had 2 sacks on Peyton Manning last week. He gets his 10th of the season here today. The read option, and they decide to give it. Maybe he should have kept it. Williams, Houston is there again, along with Brandon Seiler. Again, a Jets game break. Let's go out to Los Angeles and check in with Kurt Menefee.
Well, after going 10 for 21 with 3 picks against the Cardinals, Mark Sanchez has been benched by the Jets. Greg McElroy comes in, hooks up with Jeff Cumberland. First touchdown of the game. Jets lead at 7-3 in the fourth quarter. Ron and Mike, of course, McElroy now in the game due to injured ribs for Tim Tebow, who's in street clothes all day.
We just had to have the controversy continue there in New York. Meanwhile, we've got a good one here. 3rd and long. Batted down. Tyson Jackson elevating and forcing the 4th down.
Well, you know, we remarked on the practice field how tall he was, and his reach, those arms seems like they reach to the sky for crying out loud, and he played the quarterback beautifully. This is something that they said that they were going to do. Contain him, read his eyes, and he goes to throw that ball. Get those hands up.
McCluster now with a chance to really break this game open. Nortman will punt away. Should be good field position, even though it is a very good punt by Nortman. McCluster avoids one. Ooh, takes a solid hit there at the 26-yard line. Jason Phillips hustling down 49 yards on the punt. But Tyson Jackson getting the ball back for the offense. Boy, I have the utmost respect for Romeo Crennel, being able to come out here and somehow get his team on the field, get himself on the field, and get through this game and get through it in fine fashion. And that's another play in fine fashion by Brady Quinn. He finds Moyaki for a first down.
Well, you know, he was hemmed in there, and he sidestepped it and flipped it down the field. And, I mean, he looks like he's been playing this game for about 15 years. Watch him come off the play fake. Good action here. Has got to step to the side, get in a throwing lane, and he's off bounds. He still makes the throw.
19 yards on the pickup. A career-high 133 quarterback rating for Quinn today. He's at 135 after that last pass. Davis is there. Wait a minute. They've got some. Oh, there's a late flag. Charles with the carry, but a little
foul. Number 22 defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Boy, that's dumb. Josh Thomas gets popped 15 and an automatic first at a key moment in the game.
Well, the other part of this, I think, is that they're not getting tight. They're continuing to do the things that got them there. And I think in the fourth quarter with the lead, that is incredibly important. People have a tendency to tighten up a little bit and play field position. They come out with that ball down the field, and they're finishing this thing as they opened up.
Oh, not much of a look at that. No reason to come in there. A 3-point game, 6 minutes to play. They're driving. You got a chance to get off the field, and you lose your composure like that. Meanwhile, on the other side for the Chiefs, thus far, no penalties, no turnovers. If they continue this and finish the game like that, that will be the first time in club history that that's been done.
Well, and head coach Romeo Crennel has stressed this all season, of course, and we've seen the result in the last 3 weeks. They've limited their turnovers, and they're playing disciplined football.
Like we say, we continue to marvel at how you even get your team close to ready to play under the circumstances this team has gone through the last 24 hours. Charles again.
You know, and Charles on this run is going to reach 74. Winston's block. He's going to push him out. He's going to stretch that hole, stick his foot in the ground, and hit what crease he can find up inside. They're doing a good job on defense of turning this thing back in. They're penetrating on the edges here defensively, but nonetheless, they're reading it well, and they're staying on and finishing blocks.
Big third down. They bring pressure inside. They pick it up, and it's knocked away. The man who got the penalty comes back and makes the play to help get the defense off the field. That's Josh Thomas working against Dwayne Bowe.
And he played it very well. You know, the ball was just a little bit behind. You know, he's that tight in coverage. You like to keep it out just a little bit in front, but boy, you can't fault it. It's just a good play there.
And even though you've been playing very well, you still, Coach, take your points in this situation.
You have to, absolutely.
52 yards out for Suckup. It's straight. Boy, that is why he has been responsible for 50% of the team's points. It looks to be automatic, and he adds to the lead. 27-21, under 5 minutes to play here in Kansas City. The The UFC returns to Fox as lightweight champion Vincent Henderson puts his title on the line against top contender Nate Diaz, highlighting a full night of epic fights. Coverage of the UFC on Fox 5 begins Saturday at 8 p.m. 5 Pacific, only on Fox.
And I think on that last third down, as we saw, the ball was just a little bit behind the receiver, and that may have been the only thing that Brady Quinn has done bad today or wrong today.
Ron Pitts, Mike Martz, Christina Pink. Very heavy-hearted affair here today. Tragedy striking the Kansas City Chiefs organization. But somehow, Romeo Crennel and the rest of his staff, they have gotten their team ready to play. He's gotten himself ready to coach. And what a job of coaching he has done thus far. 27-21. A mistake-free game from a turnover and penalty standpoint for Kansas City.
Well, in the areas of concern for them, the downfield passing game, the penalties, and the turnovers, they've addressed those so very successfully. And
if Carolina is going to win this game, they've got to go right about now. Edwards is stacked up and then dropped. Cyrus Gray, the running back, hustling down on special teams, along with Copper.
And Carolina's been alternating Gary Williams and Jeremy Bridges at that guard spot, and it appears that Gary Williams is back in at right guard.
So Cam Newton will take over. It'll be his show at the 19-yard line. He's got 4:49 to work with. Screen, they cleared it out. Tolbert working back against the grain, and he lost on the play. Tamba Ali, that's the Pro Bowler. That's a loss of 1.
And Tamba did a terrific job here of just recovering, and that's the key to screens, and the success is when screens don't work is because the inside pressure coming from the pass rush runs it down.
And we haven't seen much of Brandon LaFell really since that drop, Coach.
Well, I don't know what happened with him. I don't know whether they're angry with him or if he may be injured or hurt his leg or something.
Right, we don't want to speculate, but this is crucial time. Ali coming around the corner. He misses the sack. Newton's still alive. Gets a block and runs out of bounds just in front of the 25-yard line.
If I'm a wide receiver on the Carolina team, I want to play with Cam because he can let you buy time and run around down there when he scrambles and get open. They just got to get more active for him. Show up downfield. Don't be scrambling. Get yourself free. You got time. Now pivot and turn and get back out of there.
Boy, look how close that was. Jordan Gross bought him about as much time as he could, working on a great pass rusher.
Well, really, they've given him outstanding time today.
Yes, they have.
It's the coverage has really hurt him.
3rd and 4, pressure incomplete. The pressure again. This time, Dontari Poe. And it's 4th down.
Here's a young man, a rookie that has begun to really show up, and the push that he gets inside is what makes this happen, because remember now, on those outside pass rushers, they're going to contain him. They're going to kind of really be under control, so it's important to get that push inside in his face.
That's the first 3 and out by either team today. McCluster back deep. Nortman got off a pretty good punt last time, kind of pinned McCluster to the sidelines. He wasn't able to do much with it. This is a high sailor. Fair catch called at the 30. Ron Pitts, Mike Martz. Boy, a very difficult Sunday of football, considering the events that have transpired the last 24 hours. But the Chiefs, I'm amazed that they've been able to come out and play the way they have.
Well, mistake-free football, and this is as well played a football game, particularly on the Chiefs' standpoint, that I've seen basically this year. And you wouldn't know that by looking at the records of these teams. You come away from this game, boy, what a game, But when you go back and look at the conditions that Kansas City's playing in, is pretty remarkable.
Romeo Crennel, first year as full-time head coach. Remember, he took over last year, midway through the season, roughly, for Todd Haley. They've had their difficulties in terms of football only, but today they seem to be getting it all together.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point that you just made, Ron, that this is really his first full season to put his personality, his stamp on that as a head coach. You know, they are downhill. This lead now, this is attitude football. This is all about who wants it more. And that play, you get 2.5 yards on it, you keep pounding it and let that clock run down and manage that thing and force Carolina to use what timeouts they have and field play. At this point, when you're down to 340, it's a game of field position.
Chiefs coming into the game.
So it's hard to get. It's hard. Excuse me. I'm sorry. It's hard to get more efficient than what these guys have been with Brady Quinn,
right.
and you can't fault Cam Newton. He's played exceptionally well.
Chiefs coming in with the 1-10 record. They knew they had gotten better with the turnovers, but they weren't sure if they could make it translate into game day. It hadn't translated into game day. That's Charles, and 100-yard-plus day for him as he's brought down by Munnerlyn. Of course, they're working on the timeouts for Carolina now. They've gotten Carolina to burn through their timeouts. So the Chiefs rallied themselves, got themselves back into some kind of shape mentally, and able to come out here and play the game. Mike, you made the point last night when we were discussing what might transpire. I mean, there was a lot of talk that maybe the game would be canceled all in all.
Well, and I felt like, you know, that was my first reaction. Are they going to play it? And, I mean, I didn't know. And as it turns out, it's probably a good thing they did. Get their mind off of the obvious.
Big third down for the Chiefs. And how fitting. The man who has had basically a mistake-free day puts the exclamation point on it and scrambles for the first down.
Well, I tell you what, if the NFL allowed you to put stars on your helmet, you'd have to put a whole bunch of them on Brady Quinn's helmet after this game.
So many question marks regarding Brady Quinn. Matt Castle, the starting quarterback. Job not getting done. You can count the reasons and point the fingers wherever you want. Bottom line, Romeo Crennel said it's time to make a change. He made the change. And people really didn't know what they were going to get with Brady Quinn. He's answered some questions today.
Yes, he has. He made a question to change, but that's just being a head coach.
Delay game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Boy, and how about that? On their way to having the first game without a penalty, without a turnover. That's still possible, but and then you get one there, a technical mistake.
But I tell you what happens. When you get a run like that that's 10 yards and everybody's kind of spread out, they start the clock quicker than you think.
180.
You can hear the pads, can't you? Wow.
Still some time left now. That's a pickup of 4. Carolina, though, out of timeouts. Clock will run as we look at a 2nd and 11.
You got to let this thing burn all the way down.
Yeah, and it will. There's a stagger from the play clock to the game clock. Looks to be about 1 second.
Well, going back to the penalty that they had, when you have a run like that that's down the field or a play like that.
This is the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, we'll get back down in a second, but we can talk about after the break here.
2-minute warning, 27-21 Chiefs. Under the 2-minute warning. The 2nd and long give to Charles. You saw the ball squirt out, but he is down.
Getting back to what I was talking about earlier, Ron, anytime you have a play down the field, running or passing, the linemen are spread out down there. It takes a while for those big guys to get back to the ball, and you don't realize that that clock has been started as soon as it really has.
Mike, now you got a third down here. You know the other team doesn't have timeouts. What's your thinking play calling?
It's because it is 3rd and 9. It's some sort of a run. Let it grind down, and then get that ball down inside the 20-yard line, and make them go the long, hard road. Play defense.
9, 7. 180.
3rd and 9, and they put it in the hands of Hillis. Hillis with 2 hands over the ball goes safe on the right side. Coming up, it's the Lowe's post-game show with Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy. They'll be along with the scores and highlights of all of today's games, the action, and all the stats from the Spot Sports Ticker around the league. That's the Lowe's post-game show coming your way. This is a 4th and 7. Kansas City trying to get their first win since way back September 23rd. The last win, an overtime victory, 27-24 against the New Orleans Saints.
This is the second.
Trying to snap an 8-game losing streak as the fans here in Kansas City, for good reason, come to their feet.
And they're sticking around here, Ron. Most of these people are staying here. You can see them, some of them starting to head to the, back door there, I guess. But they're hanging in there. They want to see this win.
Well, this January, television's biggest phenomenon, American Idol, is back. New judges, Mariah Carey, Keith Urban, Nicki Minaj join Randy Jackson and Ryan Seacrest for Idol's biggest season yet. American Idol premieres Wednesday, January 16th on Fox. Game not over yet. Carolina here with 31 seconds will get the ball. They'll be under 31 seconds. And Cam Newton goes to work. Good kick by Colquitt. Very good. Inside the 5-yard line goes Joe Adams.
And that's what you were hoping for, to get that ball down inside the 20 anyway, and hopefully the 10, and make it a long, hard road for this offense to go with 18 seconds.
Coach, I was actually happy to hear you say play defense on that one.
Well, you do. I mean, and this is in the as a head coach in the 4th quarter, you want to squeeze that clock as much as you can and put as much grass out there for that other offense. There's a lot of pressure on them to do that.
An injured Chief. We'll check on him when we come back. Alan Bailey was the injured Chief. He walked off under his own power. 57 yards. Nice punt there by Colquitt. And it puts Carolina in a hole here with 18 seconds left and no timeouts.
And what's unusual about this now is normally you don't have a Cam Newton back there. He can take off and he can go the distance at any time as well.
Yes,
that's an obvious threat.
Boy, and the Chiefs back in a prevent-style defense. They've got 6 guys 25 yards deep, and that's what's open. The long out, and more importantly, it stops the clock. That's Steve Smith.
Well, and you figure if you can stop the clock in the next one, you got at least 2 more plays with a potential shot at the end zone. You get that ball out around the 50-yard line somehow, stop the clock, and then take your shot.
Fake to pull the trigger deep, brought it back down and hit Edwards on the sideline. And Edwards steps out of bounds with 7 seconds left.
Well, he can get that ball 60 yards in the air. You can see this is what we call a speed or a dash play. You know, Joe Gibbs brought that really into the league years and years ago, where the quarterback bails and everybody turns the protection back, and it buys the quarterback about 4 or 5 seconds a time. Wouldn't be surprised if they use the same protection here.
And it's incomplete. Intended for Olsen. It was high. 3 seconds left.
That's too bad. You know, that would put him right about the 45-yard line. Now that is really, truly makeable. You can put that ball into the end zone.
Right, you're trying to shorten the distance for the long throw.
Yeah, the whole object here is get it on the other side of the 50, so all your receivers can end up in the end zone and anything can happen. You see they got 7 defenders at least 30 yards back or deeper.
He lets it fly. He's got people in the area. It's caught
Now just
at
imagine.
the 8-yard line.
Just imagine had they got that completion on the sideline.
They don't get it. Game over. The Chiefs with the win.